This is just a note. There's one point in the video where I say that the Capitol police officers were acting frivolous. That's just in reference to some of the police officers that during the riot they were taking pictures and they were kind of laughing and not taking the situation so serious. Just keep that in mind. That's not in totality of all the police or the whole incident. There's just a few I want to say minor indiscretions or, lack of judgment by some of the police officers during that riot at the beginning when it wasn't as, I guess on certain areas, they weren't seeing the totality of what was really going on. And I think maybe they were looking at it as not such a serious situation. So just keep that in mind when I say that. I'm not talking about the totality of all the officers that were working there. I'm just talking about certain misjudgments that were being made. Hi y'all, it's Kimberly here. Well, today there was another incident, I'm going to call it an incident, at the Capitol today. It's around 1 p.m. They say it was a lone actor, and it was a 26-year-old guy named Noah Green who drove from Norfolk, Virginia, and he rammed his car, a blue car, into the barricades outside of the Capitol. And it was along Constitution Avenue, and there are some sort of barricade system that they have set up, and a lot of it has been there before the January 6th incident, but some things have been, some of the security measures have been ramped up since that January 6th insurrection. And he was trying to, I guess, he jumped out of his car with a knife. He was trying to attack the police officers there. He was shot and he went to the hospital, and he has since died from his injuries. And he ran into two police officers with his car, and they were both taken to the hospital, and one of the police officers has also died. And this has been really intense for the police in this area, the Capitol Police, and the area around the Capitol. And they have been working 12-hour shifts. They were working 18-hour shifts immediately after the January 6th incident, but they've been able to pull back on that. They've used massive amounts of overtime. These police officers work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and they're horribly understaffed and incredibly overworked. And that's not good for the safety and security of the Capitol, because I have worked hours like that before. I worked at a job where I worked 6 days a week, and I worked 10 hours a day. And that was for extended periods of time. That wasn't, my regular schedule, but my regular schedule was 40 plus any overtime. But sometimes that any overtime, it might have been like a few hours a week up to 10 or 12 hours, a whole day, plus a couple of hours over my regular 5-day work schedule. So when you're working above your 40-hour work schedule, you're staying your 8-hour day, and then you're working a couple of hours overtime 5 days a week, and then you have to come in on one of your days off and work 10 or 12 hours. It exhausts you. It mentally and physically exhausts you. And I know that feeling. And this guy, I don't know what his intentions were. I was looking around trying to find reports or anything, and it's still under investigation, so it hasn't been very much time, so they'll probably know more about it tomorrow. But since the January 6th incident, the security there has been ramped up a lot. And these barricades, they they're like checkpoints. The people who want to go onto Constitution Avenue, they have to go through the first barricade, and there's a hydraulic barricade there. And then each checkpoint, they have to be okayed and, waved through to the next checkpoint. And there's 3 of them at the point where he was trying to enter at. And he didn't even stop. He just ran his car completely into the barricade. And there's pictures online where it shows his car is just smashed into it. And that side where he was at was the Senate side of the building. And, Congress isn't there now. They're not in session, this being Good Friday. And they'll be back Monday. So there was really not a threat to the lawmakers. They're not, since they weren't there. But there was some staff there. I think the press secretary was there. Maybe a skeleton crew of people may have been there for particular reasons. And he was stopped, immediately. His car hitting the barricade, and he wasn't able to proceed. He was shot. So I think that they took a, really serious view of this. They immediately shot him. And, not to criticize what happened on January 6th, the attitude has changed with these police officers. The I guess, frivolous way that they treated the insurrectionists at the January 6th incident is very clear now. They're not going to be that frivolous about it. They're not going to be allowing people to do that. They're going to take a really hard stance at protecting the Capitol. It's very obvious now. This guy, he was shot immediately. When he jumped out of the car, he had a knife, and he slashed one of the police officers in the face. And that was the first report of any injury that I've found out about any of the police officers. But one of them did die. I don't know if it's the one that was slashed, or if there were further injuries from him wielding the knife. That was the only thing I could find. And the guy who was a police officer who was killed, his name is William Billy Evans. He was a police officer there for 18 years. He'd been protecting our Capitol for 18 years. And really sad that this happened. And, condolences to his family for this guy who's, lost his life protecting our Capitol. Now, there's 2 police officers that have died protecting our Capitol, and 2 also committed suicide after the January 6th incident. So this job is not a light job, and it's a very heavy-duty job. It's one of the most important buildings in our country. And I think, I worry that more things might happen with the fringe groups or people that are still upset about the Trump or everything, the election, everything like that. And I guess the atmosphere, it's toned down a little bit, but there's still some sour people out there. Although I have seen more reports about some of the Capitol rioters that they have regrets and they wish they'd never done it. And I've seen more and more online. There was, immediately after the first few people were arrested, many of them, made statements after they got out, bonded out, that they regret doing it, or, it was one of the worst things ever. But some of them still held, very staunch attitudes that they did the right thing and they were doing it at the call of their president, and all this blah blah stuff that I'm going to say instead of using harsher words. But more and more of these people realize, that was a moment in time that they didn't use their brain, they didn't think, they ruined their lives, the financial strain, there's so many things that affected them after that. And after months have passed by, a lot of them have come out recently saying that they regret doing it, making apologies. And this guy, he was, they say he just recently converted to Islam. So I don't know if that's any indicator, if it was something he was upset about through his new religious beliefs, or if he was part of the right-wing way of thinking. I don't know how to really classify it. I don't know if it was a political issue for him or a statement, or if it was something religious. They had stated that he had just converted to Islam, so I don't know. But I think that would be just a very far-fetched reason, I think. I don't know if he had other personal, what his thinking. They haven't said anything about what the state of mind that he was in, or if something had happened previously that sparked him into doing this. They didn't say his physical state, if there were any other substances in his body. They haven't found out enough yet, and maybe tomorrow they'll say some more if they've done more investigation. And it's just really sad that these police officers have gone through this. This is such a stressful, horrible thing. It's bad enough to work a job where you have to work really long hours, but when it's a high pressure, very intense job like a police officer, trying to guard the Capitol, working 12-hour shifts, that's just, it's very hard to keep your mind mentally stable. And you're in a constant state of stress because you get very little time off, and their body is so tired. They sleep probably as much as they can. They may have family or other, if they're married with children, there's a lot of responsibilities they have, outside of their job, and not getting hardly any sleep, and then having to live in this high pressure state of mind because of the job that they have. They have very little time to shut down. And now that this, this kind of atmosphere is around them, it's a very stressful, very high pressure job. Just trying to get through a normal work day, 8 hours is enough for most people. And we're not even in a situation, most of us aren't in a situation like that. So I really admire that the work that they do, and the situation they have to be put in sometimes, even though there's not very many incidents per year in a thing like that, in a profession like that. It's just that they have to constantly be on guard and constantly be, at their job and in the state of mind to protect. And it's not a job I would want. It's very sad that this happened. And maybe tomorrow or in the few coming days, they'll give more information. I'll give a little update on that. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for coming to my channel.